Yeah.
And as a kind of side swipe, I forgot to ask you about diet. I mean, has your diet
Yeah.
changed as you've become a mother? And how do you relate to diet and food?
So now I'm not vegetarian anymore
Right,
because I guess firstly because of breastfeeding so much. So I do have bone broth. I have some fish. I'll eat some eggs because I do feel my body needs, because I'm feeding this much, I really feel like I need to replenish myself. And also, I've dabbled a little bit with kind of a mix of an Ayurvedic approach, a very like my own version of it. So, not eating much raw at night. In the past,
right,
I was eating a lot of raw food and I was, eating like I was always very attracted to a plant-based diet. Now it's a combination of a plant-based diet with some stuff which I feel like my body needs, so concentrated
right.
sources of some kind of animal protein, bone broth. And also at nights, I like to have more like a warm, nourishing meal rather than raw kind of stuff. So I definitely have changed my approach towards a diet.
Was it a struggle for you to go non-veg after? So yeah, I assume you were a vegetarian for quite a while, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
I
yeah,
mean, of course, there's the guilt for
right,
sure. You feel like, because you're so attracted to this high vibration kind of, prana and what you believe is ahimsa and all of this. So for me, definitely it was challenging, but I realize if I have to feed my child, I have to nourish myself. So I have to nurture and, take care of myself. And the first 1 year we were in India, so I had, help from my family. And, in the Indian tradition, there's a lot of focus on this kind of nourishing foods for the mother. So,
right.
my parents, my mom was like really like encouraging me to, eat whatever she felt like would nourish me. And I would do some tests, my blood tests and stuff like that. And I felt like I needed sources, concentrated sources of iron and, stuff like that. Yeah.
Takes a bit of flexibility to kind of, once you've got a mindset of being vegetarian, to amend oneself, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Um,
ultimately, I would love to go back to a vegetarian diet.
right,
I
right.
feel like, I spiritually, I feel the best when I'm on a vegetarian diet. Physically, I was falling sick and I was feeling quite depleted. So I felt like I have to eat something that is going to, I was just listening to my body. And I feel like everybody has to find their own unique, there's no one for all. I feel like you really have to tap into what you're feeling. And also, it's good to do some kind of blood tests regularly, check out your iron levels, check out B12, just so you have some kind of, you're like have some clarity on what you need to eat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and finally, going back to the point you made earlier about being a Indian woman in Ashtanga or in yoga, I mean, can you make any observations about how that's been, how that's changed? Is yoga? People talk about yoga as a patriarchal system. Have you found it's been any discrimination, or can you say anything about that journey? Because you were probably unusual at the time as a single urban, as you say, modern Indian woman coming to these spheres, right?
Yeah.
Um,
For me, I've in the yoga practice, I've not really ever had to face this patriarchal energy. But in general, being an Indian woman in a society which has had years of, patriarchy, there is a constant sense of even women thinking from a patriarchal perspective. So not necessarily just in the yoga world, but in general, being an Indian woman, I do feel like even as a role as a mother, you're expected that as a woman, you should be the one to be the main care provider. And you should be the one to sacrifice. And, all of this is a very Indian way of thinking. And so I've always challenged that a lot. Also the fact that I, have had a baby in my mid 40s. That's a very,
I didn't. I was never going to ask your age, but I knew that probably you're over 40, right? So I mean, yeah, it's
yeah.
incredible. You just got pregnant just like that, both because Marcus must be late 40s.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. So
all
it's
of
late.
those,
Yeah, yeah,
all of those things
yeah.
are very unlike an Indian woman. So for me, I've always challenged that. Like for me, I've always just, and thankfully my family's been very supportive. And it's not just like I said in the yoga world. In general, having to have a sense of purpose, which is just beyond getting married and having a baby. I've always had that sense of purpose, and so that was already pretty challenging for most people in India. In the yoga world, I do feel like, I mentioned this in the Ashtanga, the
Conference. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that I do feel women have their cycle, they have 4 periods of their cycle, and I do feel it's important for women to kind of listen to that. For a man, he has a circadian rhythm. Men have like the 24-hour rhythm. For women, they have 4 different cycles of the month. And so if they tune themselves a little bit to this, I do feel they will thrive a little bit more, because you would be really balancing your hormones. Like, for example, like I said, just 10 days before your period, you don't want to be pushing your adrenals. You don't want to be doing anything too intense physically. You don't want to be uh, depriving yourself in terms of your calories. So I feel like listening to yourself as a woman can become your power, not a weakness. If you understand that if I tune in to this energy that I have, and don't think that I'm being lazy today because actually this is how I'm feeling hormonally, this can become your power. So I do feel if you start changing your perspective of thinking of it more as a strength rather than as a weakness, it can become something that can nourish your practice as a woman. So
And
I'm
it's a, yeah.
I can go hardcore, like I'm sure you've seen. But I listen to when I'm ready to go all out, and when I'm ready to just chill out and
Right.
become a little bit more soft and feminine. Yeah.
That's that's amazing. You can just, you're able to kind of drop it and pick it up again because you're still at a very high level of training. And I mean, I think it's a great point you make as well, because often now I think it's, even for women, critiquing other women, there's this idea that of exact sameness, that, the women's power lies in measuring up to men or competing
Ah,
with
yeah.
men rather than,
Yeah. Yeah.
embodying what womanhood is and coming back to that power as a woman.
Yeah.
That's a really salient and a really good point to make.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are days that I feel like doing a handstand, or I'm like, my body feels like it's really ready to do like really hard things. And there are days where I feel like right now is not the time. And if I actually listen to myself when I get out of this cycle, I'm going to actually have more energy. So I feel like that can really become something which is can give you more energy eventually.
And you
Yeah.
talk, finally, I mean, just to maybe round off the interview, do you talk of purpose and always having a purpose and more than just having a baby and having a family, right? I mean, what was that purpose then and how has it changed now? What would you say your purpose is?
I mean, to be very honest and without sounding cliche, for me, connecting to God or connecting to the source, whether through movement, whether through teaching, whether through life, has always been my most important, like my devotion has been the biggest motivating factor for me. Uh, Now, earlier I would view the way I connected to God through movement,
Right?
or like mountaineering, or like achieving something in my yoga practice. All of that, I felt like that was my like connection to God. Now I really feel like I still have that a lot, but there is also this purpose that I want to bring up a child that is not messed up. It's impossible. It's
Good luck there.
impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
it's impossible. Literally, it's not
Yeah.
possible.
What's a great aim though?
Because
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
eventually we're all human. So of
Yeah.
course I am human, Mark is human, we're all human. We have our own samskaras, we've come with our own patterns, and the two of us together, and then bringing in a baby who's also come with her own her own emotional patterns. Already you can see she's already got her personality, which is not just me and Mark. It's already her own person. So it's impossible to not have anything tainted, but trying our best, like making sure that we do everything we can to make her thrive. I would say that is added to the sense of life purpose now.
And professionally, what are you both, Mark and you, doing there now? Are you planning to open anywhere? Just on a
Yeah, we're
personal
gonna
note? Yeah, yeah.
we're gonna teach in August our Bali intensive, and
Okay.
also both of us also individually are really like I'm working on my online, classes a lot, and setting up an online business. And
Okay.
so is Mark, like separately and also together. We're going to start our intensive. So our first one is going to be in August.
And you're still teaching traditional Ashtanga yoga, but you're supplementing it with other
Yeah.
movement modalities?
Yeah,
Right.
for me, like everything can juice the practice.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if I'm doing handstands, I feel like it goes into my Ashtanga practice. If I'm doing some kind of movement, dance-based stuff, I feel like it serves the practice. So in the mornings, I think we still are gonna have a Mysore program because we love that structure, quietness, silence, and everybody being able to stay in this kind of energy together. And the afternoons will be workshops with a bit of play, technique, community. I also want to add an element of fun and community because I feel people are really missing this as well.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Because people
absolutely.
are also
Yeah.
missing having social connections. So maybe having some kind of playful energy where people can connect, but still with a similar kind of conscious energy. Yeah.
And last question. What inspires you in life? I mean, have you got like a particular book or place or person, or, something that
I get
can...
inspired by a lot of things. I'm inspired by a lot. I'm inspired by art. I'm inspired by poetry. I'm inspired by movement, dance. I really love watching.
What kind of what dance do you do, by the way? 'Cause you talk about dance a lot. I never asked you exactly what kind of dances you do.
I mean, like I said, to me, it's not just an aesthetic thing. It's not just how it looks visually. It's more how, it's about connecting to yourself within and just moving with music, of course,
Right, right, right.
with an external rhythm, but it's just finding your own language. And
Okay.
sometimes that can mean like connecting to it like a meditation. So it almost becomes cathartic to let go of unresolved emotions. And sometimes it can be like finding different patterns in your body. So rather than moving habitually, just in the same way all the time, finding a different movement pattern within your own body. Like for example, I'm giving you a small exercise, like moving, but feeling like your belly button is drawing different alphabets, or moving and feeling like you're moving through air, or you're moving through water, or you're moving through mush, like something which has a lot of resistance.
Viscosity. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same in the yoga practice. You can move like you're moving through air, no resistance, no effort, just really fluid, working with prana. Or you can move like you're moving with water. So it's like kind of more fluid, using the inhales and exhales for this kind of, fluid element. Or you can move like you really want to, really be strong and you're resisting everything. So there's this kind of intensity and bracing inside. So it's just playing with different elements. So I play with this in the dance, and then sometimes I use this in my yoga practice. Yeah.
I've never tried dance, and yeah, it's not something that comes naturally, but it sounds wonderful.
No, but it's also neuroplasticity. It's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
neuroplasticity. You can really feel your brain thriving on new forms of movement. The other form of movement which I've been really doing this 1 year is Kalari. It's a martial art from India called Kalari Paitu, and I've been studying it now for a year. It's a warrior practice.
Right. I think I've seen some of
And
that on your Instagram. Some
yeah,
kicking.
and it's
Some yeah. You're
yeah.
very
So
good.
it's
You're very good with kicks.
yeah.
So I wouldn't want to get in the way of you with those kicks. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so is my daughter. She's amazing at
Right.
kicks.
Yeah, high kicks. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So this particular form of martial arts has got a very similar aspect like Ashtanga. Like there's a drishti, there's a breath, and there's a certain structure that you follow. So I feel like every time you're doing a new form of movement, it just, your brain is just finding new languages. So I love that. And I feel like it really makes you thrive.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, to finish off, I mean, how would you define like being a woman? What is being a woman for you? Because I mean, I wanted to
Yeah.
make it a little bit more of a discussion on this topic, really. So
Yeah.
I'd like to finish on that note.
So I don't really find that these cliches of like just being always soft and fluid doesn't always have to be a woman, because if you think of like the Indian goddesses, there's Durga, who's like a warrior, she's strong. There's Kali, who's like rage. There's Saraswati, who's the the goddess of knowledge. So there are so many different embodiments. There's so many different essences of being a woman. Also, to give birth to a child, you really have to find an inner power. So I don't feel like being a woman is this cliche of just completely surrendering all the time. It's a mix of so many elements, but there is definitely a quality of surrender. The essence is, even if it's connecting to your power, there's an element of surrendering to it. I know it sounds so like
That's
kind of,
interesting. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah, so
yeah,
that's what it is.
yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, there's a power. There's definitely a power with you there, and like a strength. But right, I mean, there's also like a framed within some kind of element of devotion. Right. I mean, you're naturally devotive.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, like you have your Nataraj in front of you, I have my Shiva here.
oh, do you? Right.
Yeah.
This thing's so heavy, Such
I
a heavy
know.
statue. Yeah.
I love that statue.
Yeah. We bring it everywhere. Yeah, but it is. God, the Ganesh one, we've got a Ganesh one as well, but even heavier. So
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah.
So moving around with these things, like
Yeah.
so weight.
No, it's...
that's weightlifting. Yeah.
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 Well, thanks for coming on, and it's been a lovely time spent.
you.
And thanks for your
Thank
time.
you.
And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.